Santa Clarita since 1977 and was a successful business owner for 30 years, serving the Santa Clarita Valley. Today, we also have Michael Waxman. We called him on the phone last time, had a blast, and so we invited him into the studio. And so the two peas in the pod there are sitting in the studio with our wonderful engineer Patty while I am away. So they're going to help me out today. Michael Waxman, so everyone knows, is a native Californian who grew up in the Woodland Hills area and the West San Fernando Valley. He graduated from National University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. His family has been in real estate going back to his great aunts. Michael himself is a local real estate agent with Redfin. And, one of the things I dig about him right away is that he always presents himself as a relationship builder versus a salesperson. We'll dive into that later. But I love that, a relationship builder. Michael moved to Santa Clarita in June of 1993, just 6 months after he married his wife, Michelle. Today they have 2 kids. Their youngest is completing her senior year this June, and Michael and Michelle will ring in their 30th wedding anniversary this August. Thank you guys so much for being there and filling in for me. How do you feel? How are we feeling today?
I feel really good today.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. It's nice just to get out of the house.
And I got to correct something. I'm almost 31 years of marriage. I didn't know you were 30 years of marriage. I just got to mention that.
Yeah.
So we started off pretty good. First of all, Michael said I was tardy, so I just wanted to let you know that.
He was.
Said I was late.
I stood outside making sure I was on time, and he kept strolling in his car trying to find a parking spot.
Well, you know how tough it is around here with traffic, Jason.
I know, Jim. You don't have enough to say about how bad the traffic is, right?
Well, just so you know, since our last conversation, every time I get stuck in the light on Bouquet Canyon, I think of you. They go from one light to the other. Yeah.
How sweet. How sweet. How sweet. Hey, I love the thought of you thinking of me for any reason. Okay? It's kind of like there's no such thing as bad press, right?
That's right.
Anyhow, so I love that you guys are here today, and there's lots to talk about. So wanted to kind of take a look at current events, right, and how people are dealing with them, and sort of frame that in a positive light, if we can, as to whether or not we think that these events will unite us a little more as a country, as a community. Obviously, what's going on in Ukraine is extremely upsetting and extremely horrifying, and we're now being sort of confronted by that every day in the news, which is nothing to what the people of Ukraine are confronting every day. But I'd love to, Michael. Why don't you tell us what you're thinking and feeling, and what you're experiencing out in the community as far as how people are dealing with it.
Tough question. I mean, what I'm seeing right now is I do feel like we're uniting more. I mean, there's still, obviously, people have their differences and what have you. But, I mean, I feel like even as the world goes, I mean, everyone's uniting on this one thing, yet there's also, a sense of helplessness, people, because they feel like they want to do something and there's really not much that they can do. So, go ahead. You were going to say something. I thought you were going to chime in there.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, it's obviously on the minds of everybody. I think that people are just kind of a little bit somber these days, even though we're going about our daily lives. And I guess it just makes you realize how lucky we are to be here and not have those, there's a sense of confidence that we know that we're okay here, but we still want to help people there, if that makes sense.
I mean, absolutely. And we are 100% lucky. I agree with you there. I feel like I can't help but be afraid at the same time that we're not safe. I don't know. I want to stay as positive as possible, but look, I mean, in my view, Putin is not someone who I would trust with their finger on the trigger, so to speak. He seems to be an insane megalomaniac who, is basically just out for his own power and his own purposes, and doesn't really care much about human life or who he has to trample on to get to reach his goals. We meet those people every now and then, right? But this particular person has nuclear weapons at his disposal, so it could potentially affect us in a worst case scenario. And I can't help but think about that reality in a situation like this.
Well, it's very hard not to be negative about it. In my opinion, and my thoughts are that I think China is also watching this to see what happens, what the Western states are going to do when it comes to what's happening with Putin over there, because they're waiting to see what happens here so they can decide what they're going to do with Taiwan. That's just my thoughts. And yeah, it's hard not to be scared about it. I do watch quite a bit of it, and it can be scary at moments, for sure.
So what are you doing to stay positive, since we are helpless, like Michael said? I mean, at the end of the day, look, I mean, even our government is struggling with these same sorts of things, right? Like if we jump into the fight, then we run the risk of really just setting off World War III for lack of a better cliche.
None of us want to say it, but that's it.
Right. I mean, it's like constantly, since this has all been going on, it's like the movie War Games keeps popping into my head with the whole global thermonuclear war and the whole, because you've got all the cyber stuff going on and, missiles soon to be launched. It's, I think that, many of us haven't seen anything like this before in our lifetime. I mean, I've been through wars, but a lot of our younger people have never seen this, and I'm watching like my kids, how they act, and just younger people, and I don't think that I don't want to say they don't understand what's going on. I just don't know if they understand what it really means, if that makes.
Well, and how could they, right? I mean, like you said, I don't know if you guys have served in the military or served in any type of action. I have not personally. My father was in the Army. My grandfather was in the Air Force. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, how could we possibly comprehend what the people of Ukraine are going through, for instance? I mean, we're going about our lives, like you said. We're trying to stay positive. We're keeping an eye on our kids and seeing how they are dealing with it, like you said, and having those difficult conversations. But at the end of the day, we are so lucky and so fortunate that it's hard to relate to these things even, I don't know. I mean, have you had a talk with your kids yet, Michael? I mean, has the conversation come up?
I mean, we do talk about it. I guess it hasn't been that much in depth. I mean, my kids are 18 and 22, so,
they're pretty cognizant then, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like at the same time, whenever you're in a crisis situation, I mean, pretty much like your whole behavior will change, your spending habits and how you do things, all those things change, and I'm not seeing those changes in anybody other than that there's a sense of somberness going around.
Right.
Well, you mentioned spending habits, spending behaviors. What do you mean exactly, and how do you perceive them changing during these types of difficult times?
Well, okay, good question, and I'm no economist, but I mean, typically in times of crisis, people tend to pull back, kind of hold on to everything, and just kind of live their daily lives, be more conservative and more thoughtful on where they spend their money. Especially you have inflation, you've got, all these things going on, the cost of gas, you name it, everything's become more expensive. And during those times, I mean, people tend to be a little bit more careful where they spend their money. And I'm not seeing that change really in the people that I've come across.
Do you think it's just too soon, maybe, or what's your perception on that?
I don't know what too soon or how long you're supposed to wait, but you just in general, I mean, if you're not emotionally all there, you would just kind of stop. I guess it's almost like people are like, maybe this is too strong of a term, almost like walking depressive. Would be like functioning depression.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's
we
only
we
been
have
8 days.
we have had a very strange couple of years as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're already a little bit shell shocked in general. Talk about things that we've never experienced in our lifetime. I mean, it could be that we're a little bit numb, right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's only been what, 8, 9 days, I guess. Not only, but I'm just saying in general, it may take a little while for
Well,
some people for it to sink in.
I was referring to the pandemic, obviously, for the past 2 years. But yeah, I mean, this particular, war, let's call it, has only been going on 8 or 9 days, and like you're saying, it's not really affecting our daily lives yet. So,
Not yet, and we
other
don't
than
know.
just-
We don't really know what the full consequences are of it yet, really either. It all depends on what our government does and how we interact with it.
Well, but it has affected our lives. I mean, people are, complaining all the time, $5.50 for a gallon of gas, and you go to the grocery store and things are more expensive. I mean, it all comes. Go ahead, Jim.
But that was with COVID. I mean, COVID did that, right? And now it's just kicking it in a higher gear. I mean, the shelves we were already missing our cereal and our,
Right.
and our bread, right? And toilet paper, obviously, which I never understood.
Oh, I understand.
I didn't understand why everybody stocked up on toilet paper.
I understand.
But, that all happened during COVID, and now this is just right after it, right on top of it. So,
Yeah.
so it is, when you start to think about it a little bit, it's kind of crazy.
So I'm just curious where you guys see this going. I mean, what do you think the end game is here?
Well,
What do you think it is? What do you hope it is?
Well, hopefully that Ukraine survives. But honestly, I mean, we know it's inevitably it's going to happen. That it sounds like Russia's going to take over Ukraine. However, they need to be punished for just walking into someone else's country, someone else's house, and taking it. I mean, in this day and age, it's very surprising to hear and see such a thing. And a lot of us are just shocked by what we're seeing. The devastation, just the loss of life is just, it's unboggling. It's hard to wrap around.
I don't know. An end game. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that, and of course, any one that I would choose is probably going to be something completely different than what we're saying. But I mean, I think that there's the biggest hit is our economics. For as far as like cost of things, but we are coming out of pandemic, so there's still supply chain issues, and all those things are still there. It'll just, I mean, I just don't know like where things are going to end up. I think Jim is right that Ukraine probably will fall. Unfortunately,
I hope it doesn't.
Me too. But unfortunately, that's a very real possibility, and but I still root those people on. Here, it's hard to say because we're hoping that productivity picks up here, and I know we are talking about productivity and economics, where people are giving their lives to their country, but unfortunately, there's going to be more pain on both lives and financial. But I think as a country we're going to be okay. But the world's just going to be a different place for a long time. I mean, I think everything will just completely change, however it does.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's definitely for sure.
So, Michael, it sounds like your kids are old enough that at least the pandemic they understand what's happening and whatnot. And I know, Jim, how old are your kids?
26, 25, and soon to be 21. Is that a trick question? I just want to make sure.
Not at all.
Okay, I just answered that. So, in case my wife is listening.
Let me call her.
I just, these are interesting times for our kids to be living through, like we've talked about. So, I mean, and now they've just become even more tenuous and uncertain. That we've been watching our kids sort of deal with all this uncertainty the past couple of years, and now, like you said, it seems like we're coming out of it. It does seem like we're coming out of this pandemic. So I don't know. I don't know how long we'll have to wait to see how all of this is going to affect them. And as a father,
the pandemic is forever. That's forever.
Yeah. We're gonna have to see how they turn out, right?
It's gonna be, as far as the pandemic goes, it's gonna be like a vaccination every year. Like you get your flu shot, you get your COVID shot.
Sure.
An endemic is what they call it.
Yeah,
because it's not going away. It's just more mild.
That'll just become the norm. Yeah.
Right. But everything else, that's the big question
But
mark.
psychologically, mentally, I don't know. I can't help but be concerned. At the same time, I can't help but be encouraged. I mean, my kids are younger than yours a little bit. My youngest is 13. My oldest is 16. And they're great people, So I believe in them, and I believe in the kind of future that they will carve out for themselves, But look at the state of the world. I keep going round and round, and again, I usually try and stay very positive on this show, and I'm an eternal optimist, for goodness sake. I just can't help but.
Well,
I mean, how many nuclear weapons are around the world now, and how many unstable men are in charge of them? You know what I mean? Like I just can't get that out of my mind today for some reason. As I've been reading and whatnot, and Putin gathered his detonators together to either posture that he was ready to push the button, give the go ahead, or I don't know. I just can't believe that my family's lives are in the hands, in a roundabout kind of way, but also in a direct way, or in the hands of an insane person. I'm struggling with that today.
That makes sense. But as far as the kids with COVID, they're young. They will bounce back. They always do. I know that, they may have been in or out of school for a couple of years. But, the younger generation, the younger kids are always resilient. They always find a way to make it. I look at my background of where I went through, and I made it, and I think they will too. It just depends on each individual, how much they want to succeed in their years of, as an adult.
For me to add on is that I think that, as we go through all this stuff, I think it's an opportunity for each of us to become a better person than we were before. Just to, more gratitude, appreciation, and just looking at things a little bit differently than just taking things for granted.
Yeah, and we can't worry about things we can't control either. Amen. I agree to that, but we can't worry about every little
to that,
thing
brother.
that we can't control.
Can't worry about what? Sorry?
Can't worry about everything. You can't let it eat you up. You just got to keep on moving.
It's true.
Forward.
You kind of gotta keep going and be grateful and stay positive and keep chipping away, which we'll talk about next. I want to talk about the amazing things that you guys are doing, both together and for your families to ensure a solid future. And we're talking about investing. We're talking about real estate. I can't wait to hear some of your expertise in that area. Before we take a break, I want to just share with you guys something that happened on this day in history, which is always something that I enjoy doing. March 7, 1965, in Selma, Alabama, a 600-person civil rights demonstration ended in violence when marchers were attacked and beaten by white state troopers and sheriff's deputies. The day's events became known as Bloody Sunday. It was a Sunday back in 1965. Today it's a Monday. The demonstrators, led by civil rights activist John Lewis of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and Hosea Williams of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference were commemorating the recent fatal shooting of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a 26-year-old church deacon. He was shot. He was killed by a state trooper named James Bonard Fowler. The group planned to march the 54 miles from Selma to Montgomery, the state capital. And just as they crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge outside Selma, they were ordered to disperse. And moments later, police assaulted them with tear gas, bullwhips, billy clubs. And John Lewis, who was then 25 years old, was one of the 17 marchers who needed to be hospitalized. Dozens more were treated for injuries. Now, the violence was broadcast on TV and recounted in newspapers, spurring demonstrations in 80 cities across the nation within days. So, again, these things are interesting to me because they correlate things we've seen just in the past year and a half. On March 9, Martin Luther King. Okay, so just a couple of days from this event, March 9, back in 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. led more than 2,000 marchers to the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. And on March 15, President Lyndon B. Johnson spoke on the need for voting reform. So what they did finally worked, and I respect Lyndon Johnson for taking this step finally. He spoke on the need for voting reform, something activists in Selma had been long fighting for, and he said, there's no issue of states' rights or national rights here. There is only the struggle for human rights. We've already waited 100 years and more, and the time for waiting is gone. So King, Martin Luther King, who started that march, that 54-mile march on March 9, he completed it in Montgomery along with 25,000 demonstrators who joined the march along the way. They finally completed it on March 25th under the protection of the U.S. military and the FBI. The route is now a U.S. National Historic Trail, and prodded by what Johnson called the outrage of Selma, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was finally signed into law 5 months later with the purpose to right that wrong. John Lewis himself became a U.S. congressman from Georgia in 1986, and he died just recently in 2020. Anyhow, such an amazing fight, such an amazing journey, and I just can't help but see the correlations to what we're witnessing in Ukraine and what we're witnessing in this own country, in our own country, and I feel like that shows the strength of the human spirit in a beautiful and sad way, but ultimately we're moving in the right direction, and I hope that we can do that here as well. In this conflict with Russia. So please stay with us. We're with Jim Sandefur today and Michael Waxman today in the studio, and always a stimulating conversation. We'll be right back. So stay with us right here on KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
This is Bradley from Santa Clarita Grocery, the all-volunteer grocery program serving children, families, and individuals experiencing food insecurities. Since January 2020, Santa Clarita Grocery has distributed 83 tons of fresh groceries to 4,465 families in the SCV. Santa Clarita Grocery is a drive-up, drive-through service with physical distancing in place to continue serving our community. If you are in need or looking for a charity to do the most good for our community, please consider partnering with us by donating to Santa Clarita Grocery, one of the most efficient charities in the Santa Clarita Valley. A full 99 cents out of every dollar goes directly back to the community. Santa Clarita Grocery operates on a 1% overhead and is sustained through private donations. Santa Clarita Grocery is at 21176 Center Point Parkway in the Oasis Furniture parking lot. Please visit our website, santaclaritagrocery.org, or our Facebook at Santa Clarita Grocery to make a difference in our awesome town community. 661-425-7575. Be our guest and experience the difference.
Mark Schneider and daughter Kaylee for Pacific Air.
Okay, team. I called this meeting to look at new ways we can super serve our Pac Air customers. Matt, what do you got for us this week?
California is working on removing pollution in the air. And that means getting people to replace their gas furnaces with clean and efficient heat pump systems. To help people make the switch, for a limited time, manufacturers and energy companies are offering up to $2,500 in rebates. Plus, we've got special financing with 0 interest for up to 12 months.
I love the way we're always educating and improving our WOW service that we give our customers. Remember, team, here at Pacific Air, our goal is to always give service so good, they're going to say, okay, Kaylee.
For the guys in the orange truck, that's Pacific Air. When you want the best, call Pacific Air.
Replace your old gas furnace with a new heat pump system now and get up to $2,500 in rebates plus 0 interest financing for up to 12 months. Hurry, once the rebates run out, they're gone forever. Go to packair.com today.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back to Common Ground. I'm Jason Downs. So good to have you here. We are talking with Michael Waxman and Jim Sandifer, my co-hosts today. Our show is sponsored by Denny & Company, LLP, certified public accountants. They make your life less taxing at DennyLLP.com and the law offices of Lou Espin. When experience counts, count on experience at EspinLaw.com. We've covered a lot of ground so far. These gentlemen, they have been doing something very interesting that I want to learn more about, and that is really building their wealth. They've been investing in real estate. Michael, obviously, you're an expert in real estate, and Jim has been along for the ride. It sounds like he's working with you. So I'd love to hear more about some of your advice in this area, because it's something I'm very interested in myself, and obviously I have a family that I do want to protect and provide for now and in the future. So anyhow, educate me. Come on. Tell me.
Okay, I'll tell you something. So in my opinion, it's always a gamble, right? You only risk what you're willing to bet or what you're willing to lose.
Understood.
So Michael Waxman and I, we met, I don't know, about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't know. And I started working in buying and selling real estate and for projects. I figured I'd just flip homes for a little bit and get into things like that. And it kind of started with my father's place. Now, I've been in construction a long time, and I've been okay with finances, and I've done all right. But we hit it off right away, and next thing you know, we're buying and selling together quite a bit, and it just kind of worked out that way. And a lot of the times it's risky, and we'll sit and talk about it. Like we bought, let's say, I'll just use a place in Port Hueneme. We bought a place in Port Hueneme, and we started looking at, what it was in 2008, 2009, what the value was. We bought it for the value that it was in 2008. We bought it in 2014. And, Michael and I would bounce around, but we bought it for the same value. I think it was $360 or something at the time.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah, $360. And so I was scared. Here I am buying this place at $360,000, what it was priced at its peak in 2008. And I'm like, this is a risk. And he kind of talked me off that ledge, and we made, a couple $100,000 off that place 2 years later. And it just kind of kept going from there on. It just kept moving up and going further.
I mean, what I do with my clients is, like Jim mentioned, risk, and I'm not really the risk taker. I'm more about taking the gamble out of the risk, or taking the risk out of the gamble. I'm more about I take a more practical approach on things. Like I'll tell my clients, first of all, make sure wherever you end up that you really love it, and plan on staying there for a while. You just pay your loan, you make your payments. Don't you're gonna be there for at least 5 years, and I kind of go down that road, and just don't pay attention to what the market's doing. Just live your life, raise your family, do those things.
And he always plays the devil's advocate. I have to throw that in there. So if I go one way, he goes the other. And then we end up debating.
So wait a minute, Michael, are you talking to me? Because it seemed like Jim was talking about an investment property. Are you talking about just regular families? You're encouraging them to view their home purchase as an investment rather than somewhere they'll be longer than 5 years? Is that what you're addressing?
I address with them. I take a more practical approach. So I'll tell them it's really about how do I explain this? I'll say,
But I thought we were talking about buying investment properties and fixing them up and flipping them.
Right.
You're talking about.
Right. Okay. And I mean, I'm just kind of, Jim's going one way, I'm going a different way. We're all kind of.
Which we always do, by the way. I got to mention that.
I'm with you. I just wanted to make sure I was following. Okay, go ahead.
Well, because when you buy a home, it's basically a forced savings. I mean, it's not just about the value going up. It's also about you're paying down a loan. You're getting tax. There's tax advantages. It's not just like, gee, the value of my home went up or it went down, and I'm either winning or losing. There's more to it than that because you still benefit just by having it. So there's still ways of, you're saving in your taxes or you're paying down, you're amortizing a loan, or if it's a rental property, investment property, you're still gaining those benefits. It just may not always be in the gamble is really in the value proposition. I'm gambling it's going to go up, I'm gambling it's going to go down versus what the constants are is paying down your mortgage, if it's an investment property, you're gaining income from there. So you've got, there's just different ways to approach it rather than just value.
Well, I guess, and there's a difference between a home and a house, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So a home is somewhere we plan on staying for 20 years, 30 years. A house, and maybe it'd be something that, that we'd move in and out of every 7 to 9 years, right?
Right, 6 to 8,
yeah. So, see? There he goes, corrected me already. Did you see that, Patty?
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah, he's corrected me already. But this is what we do all day, and him and I have done very well together, and even not really knowing, and a lot of it's been luck, I think. And honestly, in today's environment, I think I would go out if I was looking for another investment. I would go out and bid on 10 of them, and see what comes in. What do you think of that, Mike?
When you say bid, what do you mean?
Put in an offers for 10 homes, right?
Oh, okay.
Right, and then whatever comes through, then you work on it.
On 10 houses.
Yeah, because right now the environment, it's a seller's market, not a buyer's market.
Well, I mean, I think in like you were looking at land versus a house
recently, yes.
Probably that I think you're onto something there versus going house because everyone right now is fighting over homes, and there's that driving up the prices. There's that sense of desperation of I have to get a house, and you've got all these people fighting over these homes with low inventory. I mean, it's your typical Econ 101.
Right. We recently just put in some offers for some land a couple months ago, and that was in Acton, Aquadulce area, and neither one of them panned out.
Okay, gotcha.
And so our plan was to build. So buy some land. It's doubled in price in the last 3 or 4 years, like everything else, but it's still somewhat reasonable as long as you keep the cost of that property value down when you purchase
it. Since it's a seller's market, you guys are still trying to make moves, or have you? I mean, would you advise most people during this time to, just kind of wait it out until things start to
I think that's a risk.
Back.
Either way, it's a risk, right? What are you going to do? You're going to leave your money sitting in the bank? I mean, how much is that really going to make? But on the other hand, I know he's going to disagree with me on this, but on the other hand, buying property right now is also a big risk, or buying a house. Let me just say that's a big risk because I'm not sure what the market's going to do, and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
What
are your feelings?
You think I'm right?
About
I think you're right, but still there are people out there that there's a shortage of homes. People want to move here. Santa Clarita is really one of the last places where you can still get the best value in real estate. You get a somewhat decent home in a nice area as compared to the San Fernando Valley where you get the rickety rack shack for more money. So they want to come here. They want the school system, and they want, there's a sense of quality of life up here that the Valley used to have that doesn't have anymore.
That's true, but we're kind of going. I don't want to say we're going the direction of the San Fernando Valley, but if we keep building, and we don't add on to our roads, Jason, we're going to be
here we
in
go.
trouble.
The roads.
Come on, Patty, don't you agree? Come on, the traffic out here is horrible. It's because Jason lived in New York, is what the problem is. But
there are no plans for new roads.
It seems pretty tame. It seems pretty tame to me.
Yeah. Well, Patty, you've lived out here, right? The whole time, Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 25 of my 26 years.
And would you not say the traffic has gotten bad?
It's been pretty bad.
See? Told you. Even Patty's on our side. Anyway.
No, I agree. But there are no plans for new roads. I mean, this is it.
Yeah, but if we keep building and building around us, we're just going to be in lock.
Exactly.
It's going to be bad.
But
But I know I kind of veered that off.
No, that's okay. You're right. I totally agree because there are no plans for new roads. This is it.
Yeah. And so now the homes are just getting skinnier. There's no lots. But, the thing is about how do you, in this day and age, how do you make money? What's the best investment term or turnaround? I really couldn't answer that. A lot of it is, honestly, there'll probably be a lot of people who disagree with me, but it's luck. It's your gut feeling. It's what you think's going to happen. And that's always worked for me.
Well, you keep talking about luck and these ethereal things and whatnot, whereas Michael's over there saying, no, if you're smart and you have a plan and you do things by the numbers, then is there still room for someone like me who, is perhaps a little bit younger or perhaps, just starting out in investing to, do what you guys have done in the past 10 years?
That's to you, Michael. That's to you.
I said I'm no economist. I mean, that's a real, it's funny because today people would say they don't know. No one knows. We're in these times where it's like no one knows where anything is going. I mean, we have inflation. We have all these things happening. That it's, was it $19,000 more just in lumber to build a house?
Yeah.
So it's like, how does this all play out? Everything is a cycle, but the cycle's kind of gone its own way.
We've never seen this, right? We've always seen a kind of recovery of some sort.
Right.
And now it hasn't happened. Even 2 years ago, you and I were saying that, there's going to be a recovery. There's going to be not a recession, but there's going to be a recovery of some sort in the housing market where it's going to settle down. And it never happened. It just kept going.
But there has
and
to
going.
be a recession. There has to be a recession. It is just part of the ecosystem of capitalism is there has to be recession. And
well, that's also just the market cycle. It always corrects, and it always.
And correct me if I'm wrong. It's about Michael. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's about every 10 to 12 years that it does some sort of correction, and we're way past that.
The market cycle, it's about 10 years. It should be from a.
I mean, if you look back the last 50 years,
it should be every 10 years it cycles through.
And how long has it been since we've cycled?
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Come on, it doesn't have to be exact, but I mean, it's probably been 15 years.
Oh yeah, I agree.
17 years.
I agree, but we've had all these unprecedented, and we're hearing all the term now, unprecedented. We're in times that we've never seen before. There's all the uncertainty, and again, here we've got the situation overseas, and we've got all these things going on. Still huge demand for houses, and just to live. These people, they want to be here. They don't. They've come across this, money that now they can put a down payment. I mean, 20% down is not a big deal these days. Everyone's doing 20% down. Yeah. Where are they getting it from?
Well, they sold their old house.
That is an excellent question.
They sold their house, they sold their car, made money on it, and then they bought a house. That's where they're 20%.
Let's take a quick break. We'll continue this conversation, so stay with us. We're talking to Michael Waxman and Jim Sandifer. And just real quick before we take a break, on this day in 1999, American filmmaker Stanley Kubrick died. He was one of the most acclaimed film directors of the 20th century. He made 13 feature films exploring human nature, the darker side of human nature, we'll say. He was born in New York City in 1928. Also on this day, in 1876, 29-year-old Alexander Graham Bell received a patent for his revolutionary new invention, which was, Jimbo, the telephone. So look where we've come today. All right, so stay with us right here on KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220. We'll be right back.
Aloha, friends. Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
Explorer's log. Time unknown. Date possibly a Saturday. Everything just changed. 5 minutes ago I was in a huge rainforest, and now the landscape is desert dunes. The fauna here is unique. Where will I find myself next? In a marshland crawling with reptiles? Or venturing through wild woods? Or will I...
Honey, you want a churro?
To the churro stand it is.
Visit the new Wildlife Explorers Base Camp at the San Diego Zoo and feel what it's like to be wild. Opening March 11th.
With locations throughout the valley, Providence offers the most advanced technology and therapies for treating cancer in Southern California. Call 1-888-HEALING for your annual checkup or second opinion. The road to healing leads to Providence.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back to Common Ground. I'm Jason Downs. We're here with Jim Sandifer and Michael Waxman, local icons and beautiful men, if I must say. Pleasure to have you guys here. This has been a great conversation. Now, I'm trying to imagine Jim Sandifer on a bicycle at all. It's a funny picture in my mind, but I hear it would be like, I don't know, a red delicious apple riding down the street on a. I'm kidding.
That was good. That was good.
Delicious apple, huh?
So I hear that you've been tinkering with converting bicycles into electric bikes.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about your? So we've been talking about how well you guys have done investing, and I guess this is one of the things that you have decided to do for fun with your money. So tell us about it.
Okay, so Michael and I, we ride a little bit, kind of helps with the stress, and I always said that I would never convert my bike to electric bike because, what's the point? That's not exercising, right? You're not really exercising. The whole idea is to get out and enjoy the outside and exercise. Get that heart rate up.
Fair
right?
enough.
That's where because I am a big red apple for sure.
No comment.
Hey, come on. Recently my wife and I, we went out and we're riding our bikes and everybody's passing us with the electric bikes and I'm struggling. I got a little dog trailer in the back with my dog. So that's an extra 60 pounds. And then Michael comes along and I told Michael too, by the way, I said, I would never do that. I'm never going to convert or I'm never going to buy an electric bike. What's the point? So then Michael buys an electric bike.
Which I'm still waiting for.
Yeah, which was kind of frustrating at my end. So anyways, he goes out and he buys this real fantastic, unique, I don't know the name of it, but he doesn't have it yet. So I went ahead and converted mine because I was going to go out and buy one, and I test drove 3 of these things, and they only go 20 miles an hour, but you can buy some that go 28. I did a bunch of research. Michael did research, and of course we were bantering back and forth about it because we're kind of competitive.
I'm not competitive.
And so, yeah, what? Yeah, okay. Can't say that on the air. Anyway, so I converted my bikes because I like my bikes, and I spent about it was about a little over $1,100 converting my bike, and it goes. I shouldn't say this, but it goes about 30 miles an hour. It's kind of crazy. And so I did two bikes.
That sounds like a bargain.
Yeah, I did two bikes.
Michael paid, I'm sure.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah.
Well, okay. So first of all,
no, wait a minute. Mine was I did two bikes for $2,400.
Right, and then your bike. So Jim basically, if it wasn't for Jim, and I give him all the credit, is that he dragged me out of my house and says, "Hey, I'm gonna, want to go for a bike ride." I'm like, "Huh?" It's like, I wasn't doing that stuff. I have a spin bike at home, and so we go out. He takes me on the bike trails, and I didn't know. He opened up a whole world to me that I really enjoy.
Oh, he stepped out the door, by the way, with styrofoam and duct tape all over his body. I think everybody should know that.
Yeah. It's still on. It's still on.
No, that's the first time we went riding. He had the whole bit, wrapped up and the whole gear and everything. So anyway.
But anyway, so he opened my world, and I thought, okay, let's just see how this goes, because it was some of these things I just never even thought about. I knew they were there, but I really didn't know other than that they were there. So I was like, this is interesting. So we went out a few more times, and then I started looking around at different bike options and stuff. Talked to another friend of mine down in San Diego who's got an electric bike, and I just started shopping it. And I found this one bike. It was on a crowdfunding, and it gives me the best of both worlds. Where I get
still not here.
It's still not here, but it's lightweight like a regular bike, but it has electric. It's pedal assist.
He bought it 5 months ago.
I know it's gonna come. It's gonna come. It's really cool.
I bought my parts 4 days ago. My bike is done.
That's right. He's gonna get a speeding ticket.
Maybe. Are you gonna call on me? He'd probably call on me.
I have a tracker.
But if you could picture Michael wrapped up with duct tape and styrofoam over his body, it was pretty funny. And I'm not a helmet person. I'm out there to be free and enjoy and look and not sweat and have helmet head.
I believe in helmets.
Yeah, well, because he doesn't have any hair. But anyway,
feel the wind in your locks. Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of it. And he still doesn't have it. I'm afraid it's going to be obsolete before he gets it.
So how long have you had your conversion and been riding around town, spinning dirt into Michael's face?
About 3 days.
So it's brand new. Okay.
Yeah, but I still get the exercise because you can do either it has a throttle or it has what's called PAS, pedal assist. And so you decide, it's kind of like a treadmill, right? You can set up the treadmill how hard do you want to work.
Okay.
But now we have,
I gotcha.
Now I can go just about anywhere with this bike. It has a range of like 40 to 70 miles, depending on how much I use the pedal assist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was really against it at first, and now I'm a real advocate for it.
So now, you can go farther, obviously. So you cover more ground and hopefully get the same amount of exercise.
Right, but the concern is too now is that wondering how much the local government's going to say, oh, that vehicle rides this fast, and I know there's rules and laws, but now it's got to be registered.
If you're going 30 miles an hour, it's probably coming soon.
Yeah, that's me pushing it though.
All right, so that's our show. We're gonna say thank you, and we're definitely gonna do this again. It was such a pleasure to have you guys. We got Michael Waxman and Jim Sandifer, Tweedledum in the studios today, and it's such a pleasure, you guys.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. Yes.
Thank you. I'm just Tweedle, so
No, I don't know about that. We'll have to talk
You're
about
Tweedle
that later.
And he's dumb? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later.
Just Tweedle.
So we'll definitely have you guys back, and don't forget that Michael Waxman is he's a realtor, and you can definitely reach him. He's an agent with Redfin. His direct line is 661-373-5282. 661-373-5282. So be sure and reach out to him for your questions. I want to. How much time do we have, Patty?
Minute 30.
Okay, perfect. Because today, in history, I'm going to end with this. 1923, the famous poem by Robert Frost was published, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And I know it's probably warm in Santa Clarita. I've heard that it's been colder than usual, so we're still winter time, so I thought this was appropriate. This was released 1923 on this day. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He'll not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That's our show. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. I want to thank my sponsors, Denny & Company, LLP, and the law offices of Lou Espin. Thanks to the amazing staff here at KHTS, the owners, Jerry and Carl. Fantastic engineer, Patty Oshwika. Pleasure to have you here on Common Ground, where we can always agree on the important stuff. I'm Jason Downs, and you're listening to KHTS. Until next time, stay safe, stay